Hi, it's Mobile Max in West Hollywood, and it's Monday, August 10th, 2026. This is my opinion. I was watching this short on YouTube, short video, and this woke liberal woman was criticizing Pete Hegseth, the leader of the Department of War, Secretary of the Department of War in the current Trump administration. And she was criticizing Pete Hegseth because in the armed forces, he's fired a lot of women and people of color and other woke individuals and hired competent people who could do the job properly, not based on their skin color, based on their merit. Boy, these woke liberals have got huge cojones, big brass balls, talking about discrimination and racism. During the Obama and Biden administration, some of the most, especially the Biden administration, they printed out money like crazy during the pandemic. First of all, you had Obama and his Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner, who decided that the best thing for printing out money was the printing out of huge amounts of money. What is that called? I forgot. Quantitative easing. There you go. Timothy Geithner, Treasury Secretary under Obama, after the 2008 mortgage meltdown, decided that the best way forward with the economy and the Federal Reserve and the printing of money was quantitative easing. In other words, they're going to start printing out money, which many countries in the past, long past, have tried, and it causes massive inflation. And in the end, it's terrible for the economy, because the person who gets hurt worst is the person with no assets, because it causes massive inflation. Anyway, these woke motherfuckers got some nerve criticizing Pete Hegseth for discrimination, supposedly hiring white guys. But they got no leg to stand on, believe me. During the Biden administration, they went wild, especially here in Los Angeles. All government agencies, quasi-government agencies like universities and stuff, got rid of the white men. Straight white men go. LGBTQ in. Women in. People of color in. And get rid of the white men. And boy, did they accomplish their goal. Here's what happened here in the city of Los Angeles. This is what they did to, like, the LAPD, the LA County Sheriffs. They defunded the LA County Sheriffs and LAPD, defunded, divided, degraded, destroyed, diminished, demeaned, debased, declined, devoided, disintegrated, dissolved, demolished, dismantled, deconstructed, disassembled, dissected, and discriminated against LAPD and LA County Sheriffs and every other city, county, and state. I went into the DMV in January to renew my license. Not one white face, not one. I went into my bank recently, a few weeks ago. They had one token white guy. Can you believe that? A token white man. How can they criticize anybody for discrimination and racism when their actions were clear and still happening right now, in real time right now. There's no jobs for white men under the government, city, county, or state. No white men. You never see any white men in police cars or working the streets or telephone or anything. They got rid of the white men in the post office. You name it. These woke liberal Democrats, socialists, went wild, destroying the white man in LA and California. The only ones who survived were the rich. The middle class got decimated. Decimated. Middle class is the fulcrum, the balance at what democracy sits on. The greed of the rich and the pettiness of the poor. In between sits the middle class. We used to know this. We used to know this. Somehow, with this new DEI, that's what their big excuse was for getting rid of the white men. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Bullshit. Destruction of equality and individualism. That's what DEI is. They shoved all sorts of incompetent, unprepared people into major universities simply because the color of their skin was right, or their sexual demarcation was right, or their gender was right. Actually, I figured that one out. The rich, the really rich, the billionaires, they don't want competition. They don't want some smart guy coming up through the university and out-competing them. So what did they do? They just eliminated 50% of the positions in major universities for somebody smart who could really utilize this top education. They just got rid of it and gave it to some underperforming people who would never compete with them. All this is to take over power. And it ain't the black mafia, I can tell you. This has been in planning for 15 years, since the beginning of the Obama administration, as a reaction to the idiot Bush, who also spent money and had massive criminality in his administration. Remember Iraq? The Iraq War? And huge airplane fulls of money went into Iraq and disappeared. Shit like that. Yeah, the Bush was pretty corrupt and pretty incompetent. You notice how he sits with the Democrats now. Ex-President Bush. George W. Bush. Anyway, during the Biden administration, they made George Bush like a little leaguer. They spent trillions, printed out trillions of dollars, gave a lot of it to the poor people. Remember during that time, during the pandemic, you had all sorts of people, all sorts of white and colored people, had all sorts of money, and the airports were full, and Las Vegas was full. Where do you think they were getting that money from? They're getting it from the Fed. They are printing out money like drunken sailors, these Democrats. Printing it out and handing it to their constituency. The information technology, internet, rich guys, and also the poor people who get food stamps. It's not called food stamps. They give you a debit card. Was it electronics benefit transfer? EBT cards, they call them. They don't want to embarrass any people when they go through the market line by having to show their food stamp. That's what you used to get, a regular stamp, not a stamp, but a bill that said food stamps on them. And they didn't want their poor people to get embarrassed. So they just gave them a regular debit card, and nobody would ever know what they spent the money on. They didn't even have to spend it on food. You can pay your bills with EBT card. Anyway, the point is federal programs like that, all of a sudden the money was flowing in. Everybody could claim somebody stole my food stamps allocation for the month. Give me another one. And they did. There was all sorts of scams going on. Billions of dollars, billions of dollars. We see what happened in Minnesota. It's fact. Fraudulent organizations, child care, elder care, autistic care, whatever. It was all fake. And they just paid these people out like slot machines. Just paid them out without the slightest reservation of whether they were fraudulent or not, because they didn't care, because they were getting a cut of the action. You think any of these states allowed hundreds of billions of dollars to pass through their hands without getting their cut? I feel the Democrats are a criminal organization. All the facts point to that. Anyway, the bottom line was these woke liberals got not one leg to stand on when they claim discrimination and pointing people through a partisan lens. They got no right. They're more guilty than anybody. All right, that's all I got to say.